Hey, welcome back to Tim's Garage. Today's episode, I'm working on my Triumph Rocket 3. The starter went out on it, and I'm putting this video together because I couldn't find exactly all the information that I ended up doing. So let's get to it, and I'll show you what's going on. Okay, so here's the finished product. There's quite a few differences. This is all information that I couldn't find that I ended up doing myself to make this work. So these are all the new parts that I didn't use, and here are all the old hardware that I didn't use. So there's a couple differences. The first video that I found, which was helpful, said that you can cut down this shaft. I think he said 1/16". I don't know what that ended up being, but I can tell you exactly what that is. I'll go into that in a little bit, but the difference is that you have to cut this shaft, and obviously this is an upgraded size. This is a 1.4 kilovolt, and this old one is a 1.2 kilovolt, so it's a little bit more beefy. It's an upgrade, and it's the biggest upgrade you can go to without having to do lathe work on this face. So the face of the 1.6 and 1.8, we would have to machine these to get this face, this O-ring, to work. So if you have someone with a lathe, then that's a better upgrade. But here's what I ended up doing that I couldn't find. So going into the first obvious of why I'm using so many parts from the original starter, why don't I just use that, is pretty obvious. This face, we have to swap that out. So that's a pretty direct swap. So what I ended up doing is taking this and putting it through my ultrasonic cleaner, all these needle bearings and everything. So I took the whole thing apart and threw it into my ultrasonic cleaner, and then re-greased everything and put it back together with my choice of grease. And there's a little clip right here inside. This is very kind of tricky to see. I'm not sure if I can get it on the camera. There's a ring in there, and it's a kind of a bugger to get out, but between using a pick and some luck, it actually came out. And then I was able to take the whole thing apart because there's a journal bearing, just a brass or copper bearing inside here, and then the back of it is this ball bearing. Okay, so the second difference that besides the size is this guy. So the original, this guy, I went to just swap them over, and it doesn't work because the depth of these screws holding the brush plate is different than the depth on this one. And when I installed it, there was actually a gap on either side. This wasn't tight. So these gaskets weren't sealing, and then of course this wasn't square and straight to the motor. So you have to swap this out, and the reason you need to, the good reason you swap this out is, so there's the original weep hole on this one. So I installed it on this guy, and I plugged the other weep hole right there. Right, and I'll go through that. That was pretty simple. I'll post a link in the description below of how I did that. The part that I used was basically just a plug, and then I used one of the original screws that came with the rebuild. And just ran it through there. So another difference is that the replacement alternator, the screws in the back have O-rings on the original, and these screws came with the rebuilt one, no O-rings. So make sure you replace those O-rings, and you can use these screws, but these are better because they have a standoff that those O-rings sit in. So reuse the original screws. You're going to need to use the longer bolts that came with the other motor because this is longer. And so yeah, the drain is relocated, and you do have to use a 1/4-inch drill bit and a deburring tool, a chamfering tool, because this does have a chamfer, and it does actually matter because it's thicker metal. And in order to get the original drain to fit, this one would fit, but I didn't like it because it goes straight through. The other one actually has a bit more of a baffle, and it has another line of defense from water getting in. Remember, this alternator is for a car. This alternator is for a motorcycle. So this is actually really important to have this on this side. There's another reason why I am using the original solenoid box, and it's because of this connection. On this one, the connection is facing the wrong way, and it's actually hitting the catalytic converter, or is way too close to comfort on the Rocket. So you got to use this one. And the reason why this is out here, this is from the new one, is this one won't work You have to sand down with some 220 grit sandpaper. Just sand the corrosion off. See, it looks like this. It's all pitted. So you just got to sand it down till it's clean. And you have to use that one because they're offset. This one, the one you're going to get, the hole for it is in the center. And this one is offset so that it won't work. So you have to reuse one of the original ones. Which is fine, just sand it down, but I opted to use the other piece, this guy, right, this plunger deal. I don't know what it's called. It's just easier just to use that. And so the difference, the last difference, obviously, is cutting this guy. You want to measure with a micrometer 40 millimeters exactly from the edge of this face here to the edge of this face, like this. So 40 millimeters, just like that. That's what it's going to be. And then cut it a little long, and then just use a file. It went pretty quick because I just used my bench grinder, and then chased it with a file, and made the match. And you can put them end to end to match, to make sure that they're the right size. And of course, use the cover plate because it looks better, and you'll never be under the bike, so who cares? But that's pretty much it. And you just have to swap over a bunch of parts, clean things up, and re-grease things, and you'll have a brand new starter. This one would probably be fine. I could have just taken it apart, cleaned things up, and the brushes were fine, and then cleaned these copper surfaces up, and it would have run just fine. But I wanted the upgraded size, the 1.4 kilovolt. That is all the information that I couldn't find. So I hope this helps you. If you have any questions, all the parts I have that I used on this, I'll link in the description below. There's a couple other YouTube videos that I found, but none of them addressed using the original back plate for the drain holes and all that stuff. So the alternator that I was shipped, like I said, I'll put that link in the bottom. So let's just get it into the rocket and we'll be good. So if you made it to the end of the video, Tim's garage has gotten a whole lot smaller. We've moved to Colorado, and yeah, I've had to condense greatly and sell a lot of stuff, but we're happy we're down here. So thanks for watching. Catch you next time.